Hi and welcome to the Work It's Personal podcast with me, Rowan Hamman. In this episode, we're catching up with Mark Dewar, the Australian practice leader of FTI Consulting. And here's a snippet of the conversation we had.
When we moved into this office, you know this, Rowan, but others wouldn't. This office was a really high-flying engineering business that went through an insolvency. And this floor that we're sitting on, with this wonderful view, this was all the CEO's office. You remember we even joked about whether we keep this as my office. But we didn't. We ripped this whole floor apart and we made this side of the office for clients and then the best bits for staff. And again, that was really important for us because we wanted the staff to feel like, there was no favourites. There wasn't the CEO in the high and mighty corner office. It was, we have great evenings and drinks and ping pong and all that sort of stuff in that social environment at the back. And it's for the people, it's for the team, and that's what our office should hopefully feel like to the
Yeah, and
to
I
the
remember
team.
a big part of the brief was also that obviously, you're working with businesses that, they have these moments of crisis.
That's right.
And, people are highly strung or emotional. And I think a lot of that brief was around just making sure that the finishes that are used are becoming of that. They're allowing that people, can approach your business rather than see it as something that's very standoff. And
You don't want the clients who are going through a really tough time and potentially losing their livelihood coming into an office that's dripping in marble and
right.
chandeliers, right?
Yeah.
It just doesn't go well,
No.
right? So you're off to a bad footing right away. So look, it has to be. What was really important for us is that it's somewhere that our people are proud to come to and want to come to, and proud to invite their guests along to. So we have more functions in here than I even imagined that we would, because we want to show it off. And we actually have our functions now, we start them at 4 o'clock, not 7 o'clock, because the sun's gone down and you lose that great view. So, and watching people's face when they turn the corner and they see the view, it's, it's like, well, that's what we, that's why we moved in. It's the moment, And that's how we designed it, with you guys around that moment. So that was the ambition, and it's worked out really well.
Yeah. And obviously you interact with a lot of different businesses. In terms of looking to the future, and you've obviously, you sit on a lot of different boards, not only FTIs, but what do you see as the key components to, approach to work in the future? Obviously what you've done here might be different to other things in the future, but what do you see as those key core elements looking ahead?
I think the first part of answering that question is, for me, the office has a massive part in the workplace, right? So yes, we've moved a lot in the last 2 years, but I still come back to the office is the cornerstone of how we are going to do our business and continue to grow. So yes, we might be a 3-day-a-week business, from an attending in the office or being in the office. And for a lot of us, that'll be 4 or 5. But it's such an important part of how we interact and run our business. A great example, during the week last week, actually it was probably more than that, it was 2 weeks ago, there was a conversation that was had, and it happened to be 4 of our senior partners in our office, SMDs, and we're huddled around one of the banks of desks in the back, and we were talking about quite a topical but complex issue that's going on in the market right now, and one of our insolvencies in the market. And it's quite a specific point we're talking about, but we probably chatted for 20, 25 minutes on this point, and there was some different views put forward, and we challenged it, we kicked it around, and there was no answer, but we were just kicking it around. And in that bank of 6 or 7 desks, there's usually some of the more junior folks from the team that would sit there, but they were working from home that day. And so they weren't partaking in or listening in or just turning around and listening in. There was no learning by osmosis, right? And I still think that that's the biggest risk to the learning of the next generation is the lack of that, just sitting there and just absorbing.